I wondered if you'd come today. Some stories don't start with a bang, or even a whisper. Some just wait. Coiled into hearthstones, folded in notebooks, steeped in memory. This one is about old Wren. She used to carry the post, and even now, after she set her old satchel aside, she still tends to the flame. It's quieter than others, slower maybe, but it knows the old paths, and it remembers what came before. Would you like to hear it? Then let me tell you of what happened the morning she found that letter. Old Wren had long since set aside her postwitch satchel. Once it had gone with her everywhere, over shoulder, across garden gates, down misted lanes lined with moss and memory, but now it hung near the hearth, its purpose gentled by time. She used it to store twine and dry bay leaves, tucked neatly beside bundles of elderflower and string. The leather was soft with age, creased and worn, the straps curled like the edges of a sleeping cat, resting without tension. The mornings moved slower for her these days. She no longer rose before the lanterns dimmed, no longer swept through Willowmere with that same brisk purpose and the hum of old songs tucked behind her teeth. Her pace had shifted with the seasons, quieter now, more attuned to the rhythm of the kettles boiled than the morning bell. But she still tended to the flame. She always had. That morning she joined the hearth-binders by the communal fire. The hearth circle wasn't much to look at, just a wide, stone-bedded clearing behind the elderberry grove, ringed with stools shaped smooth by years of use. In its center, a hearth built from river rock smoldered gently, its edges blackened, its heart still warm. And yet, it was here that warmth gathered in more ways than one. Children brought bundles of kindling in their arms, laughing through clouds of breath. Neighbors passed around jam jars to warm near the coals. Letters were read aloud in soft, round voices, and charms for health and harvest were braided into the rush mats by hands that moved without needing to look. Wren sat with her lap full of cordgrass and her heart full of memory. She did not speak of the letter she had found, not yet. It had arrived quietly the night before. She felt it before she'd seen it, some small shift in the stillness, some echo in the room. It was folded and left behind her favorite chair by the hearth, the one with the worn cushion and the slight wobble in its back leg, as though it had waited there, not just for hours or days, but for years, for her. She hadn't opened it until the house had gone still, until the fire was low and the world beyond her windows had disappeared into the fog. The handwriting was spare, unornamented, almost familiar. You carried the light well. It is not done speaking. Do you remember the path of rosemary? Wren had not read the letter more than once. She didn't need to. She remembered the path, and she remembered the night it last burned. Now, by the hearth, she wove in silence. The others around her spoke gently, the way people do when they've known one another a long while, about the root cellar's damp corner, the rising of bread that had taken just a bit too long, a new batch of ink rumored to be arriving at the paper stall next week. Their voices drifted like embers in the air, rising and fading. But Wren listened for something else. A rhythm beneath the rhythm. She heard it in the subtle shift of firewood, in the way one story faltered before it found its end, in the pause between two neighbors trading silence instead of words. There was a memory coiled beneath the hearthstone, and it was beginning to stir. When she finally rose, her legs moved stiffly, slowly, as if remembering each movement as it happened. She brushed a smear of soot from her shawl, gathered her bag with practiced grace, and did not take the usual path home. Not the lane past the bakery where morning rolls filled the air with cinnamon, not through the market green where the paper stall waited, but through the garden paths near Lantern Hollow, where the rosemary still grew in slender, fragrant rows. Wren paused in the middle of the path, where the bushes curved toward one another like arms about to embrace. She bent down, fingers steady despite the tremor in her chest, and plucked a single sprig. Not for tea, not for charm work, just to remember. At her cottage, she set the rosemary in the windowsill, where the morning light could find it. Then she opened the cupboard near the fire. Inside there were 3 things. An old whisper light, its once clear glass now cloudy with soot and time. A folded braid of rush and twine, its pattern obsolete, no one wove anymore. And a notebook bound in green thread, edges softened by use and tucked, full of silence. She hadn't touched it in years, not since Marin. Wren's hands trembled slightly as she opened the cover. The first page was blank, but the second wasn't. There, in ink older than the current keeper, written in a hand that felt both known and unknowable, was a phrase. You are the ember, memory is the flame. She sat with that for a long while. Outside, wind stirred the rosemary in the window. Inside, the fire crackled, hissed, and then settled again, as if deciding to wait a little longer. And in the lantern beside the notebook, still unlit, something shimmered. Not light, not yet, just a suggestion, a possibility. She did not light it, not yet. Across the village, the lantern keepers sat at their table, the 3rd letter open before them. This one had no words, no lines, no signature, just a faint thumbprint in the corner pressed into the parchment like a seal. They traced it with one fingertip, heart uncertain. Not their own print, not anyone they could name, but somehow it felt known. That night, both the lantern keeper and old Wren dreamed. They would not remember the full shape of the dream, only the pulse of it, the image that lingered in the hush before waking. A hearth, long cold, flaring back to life, and a voice. Not all flames flicker, some simply wait. She didn't light the lantern, not yet, but even a lantern left unlit can hold a promise, a kind of readiness, a waiting. Some stories don't ask to be told all at once. They settle in slowly, like warmth finding its way back to the stones. Thank you for listening. Truly, Wren's not one for many words these days, but I think she's glad you heard this part. The next part will come when it's ready, when the ember stirs, when the hush turns back to a hum. Until then, keep the flame gently, and if you pass a lantern that shimmers without light, you'll know it's not done speaking.